Hello and welcome to Mediumship Matters with me, Hannah McIntyre. And this episode is the energy special because, as promised on the previous one, I thought I'd spend a bit of time doing a deeper look at our energy and the plans we can put in place to protect and clear our energy. So, as I said in the last podcast, the first thing I want to say that I think is really, really important is that nobody can take your energy from you without you allowing it on some level. Now, sometimes that can be a conversation with somebody. So, a good conversation with somebody that's uplifting and makes you feel wonderful, you will generate an energy between you. So, you will start off by each giving a bit of energy, and that energy between you will build and build and build. And you know those conversations that you've had with people where you come away charged and powered up and you feel great. Now, on the flip side of that, I'm sure that you can recognize times where you've had conversations with people. Normally, for me, it's people who are being very, very negative, and you can feel that that has lowered the frequency, lowered the energy, and made you feel tired and smaller and shrunk because engaging in that information, in that conversation, has literally depleted your energy. So let's take some examples here to just help things settle down in your mind. You all know those times when you've got a friend who's very, very focused on what's going wrong in their life. Oh, you know the ones. We've all got those ones. The glass is half empty and they love to talk about all their dramas and all the things that have gone wrong. And you go to their house because they call you up all hysterical and say they need you. And you go there and they answer the door and they're looking tired and exhausted and flat. And you go in there and you spend 2 hours talking to them and then you leave and they feel better and you are driving home struggling to keep your eyes open because you've just given them everything that you've got. Now, I don't believe that that is the way that we're supposed to behave. So I believe that our work is to guide people to find their own energy. And I think humanity have forgotten what the energy sources are. And now we've got all these sort of learned behaviors where people behave in a certain way because that gets an energetic reaction, and that energetic reaction is what sustains them. And I mean this as a subconscious thing. So people who have learned that being a victim and complaining about their situations gets them lots of sympathy, that sympathy is energy. Those people checking in on them, are you all right, hon, and all of that stuff is energy for them. It's feeding them. And I just want to be really clear. I don't think these people know that they're doing it, but they are. And, we walk around, the earth is a ginormous, gigantic battery. We walk on it. We can ask to be filled up by that battery at any time that we want to. We can ask Spirit and the universe to fill us up with energy at any time that we want to. We can have more energy by doing the right things, eating the right food, listening to music that lifts us up, reading books that bring us joy. For some people, not me, it would be a hot bath. I get too fidgety in baths. But I get lots of energy from walking in the woods and spending time out in nature. The sun on my face, that makes me feel energized. Making sure that you take some time for yourself just to sit and rest and recuperate, because obviously you generate your own energy as well. But people have forgotten all of this stuff, or people don't want to take the time to do what's needed to change their energy. It's a lot of hard work when you could just get it instantly by putting a bleaty Facebook post up, isn't it? And so those people want to stay in that sort of I will take. And again, it's not subconscious. They just don't understand another way. But you don't have to give. And that's what I wanted to talk about in a bit more detail. You don't have to give. So energy is always a choice. And you can reinforce your bubble, your aura, at any time that you want. So when I started working with spirit and we were doing boundaries and barriers, I used to get the spirit world to come in, my guides to come in and show me different ways of protecting my energy. So sometimes they would pour like a platinum liquid light down my energy till I was completely covered in it. And once I got covered in peacock feathers, like layers upon layers, like scales. Yeah, I've had scales with fish. I've had armor. I've had a big mirror all over my whole aura just to reflect stuff back to people. I've had a brick wall, all sorts of things. And I know that's just a visualization that, spirit are playing with me just to help me remember that my energy is protected. And so when you're trying to protect your energy and clear your energy and keep it for you, you have to remember and be strong with yourself about what is actually required of you. So too many of us rush in with like buckets of energy and just chuck them over people when they're in need. And actually, that's no good for them and it's no good for us. So your work is very, very simple. And this doesn't include emergency situations. I just want to say there are times in people's lives where you need to turn up with the buckets of your energy and pour them over it. And that is exactly the right thing to do because they're struggling and it's unexpected. But in the day-to-day moving through life, you don't need to give your energy to anybody because actually you're disempowering them by allowing them to have your energy. And I have talked about this, I know, on a previous podcast. But let me take an example for you of one of my friends. And this friend of mine, we'll call her Paula. And Paula was in a very, very unhappy marriage. But actually, Paula's marriage wasn't that unhappy. It was that Paula was unhappy. Paula was overweight and miserable, and dare I say it, a little entitled. And Paula had gotten to a state where she thought that it was her husband's job to fix her. And so all of her conversations all the time were about how he wasn't doing what she wanted him to do, how he wasn't honouring her, how he wasn't making her feel good, how he wasn't loving her. And of course, he got a bit fed up with that. And the more that fed up he got, the more he pulled away, the more he pulled away, the more that she moaned. And I was friends with Paula for about 10 years. And what happened for me, from my point of view, was as I started learning to connect to the spirit world and learning how energy worked, I started to realize and tune into the fact that I was feeling really, really good until I got a text from Paula. Or I was feeling really full of energy and really high vibrational and happy until I went round Paula's house for a cup of tea. And on meditating on this with my guides, I realized that I was giving my energy and my power to Paula. So I decided to start reinforcing my aura and using those visualizations. And before I would go into Paula's house, I would set my intention that she wasn't going to have anything from me. And when she started moaning about her partner, I used to say to her, well, that's awful. What are you going to do about it? Oh, you're obviously very unhappy. What do you think you should do? And batting it back to her. And what happened was she stopped getting the energy that she was used to getting from me. She stopped getting that hit. And honestly, within a few weeks, she stopped texting me. And there was no argument. There was nothing horrible. I wasn't being obtuse or awkward. I just stopped feeling responsible. I stopped checking in. I started waiting to see how long it would take her to text me. I stopped telling her that everything was his fault and started asking her what she was going to do. And ultimately, she decided to leave her partner and change her story. But, at the point where she left him, she had been moaning about him for 6 years. 6 years. 6 years of waiting for him to change to make her happy. 6 years of telling anybody that would listen about all the things that he did wrong. I mean, sometimes we went places and we'd meet someone who I knew who she'd never met, and we'd sit down and she'd be moaning about him within 10 minutes. It was embarrassing. Um, and that, was her choice, but I didn't need to get involved in that. So that's one of the things that I wanted to say. You don't have to give all of your energy away. You don't have to. And actually, by going to see her and sympathizing and saying that her partner was horrible and agreeing with her, I was actually feeding the problem, and I was not part of the solution. The other thing that we have is these people who are always really, really negative, really, really claggy, horrible, fear-based, moany energies. And don't get me wrong, some people can't help that. That's just where they're at. I mean, they can help it, they can do something about it. But, there's a lot of people out there who are incredibly disempowered, who think that, the way that they feel and the way that they think is in somebody else's hands, and therefore don't take any steps to change that or do anything about it. Now, for me, and I may have mentioned this, but I'm going to say it again because it's very, very useful. For me, Spirit asked me to use a ping pong ball. So anyone coming at me with their negative energy, I would hear a ping pong noise in my head, and I would bat their energy back to them. So in my brain, I was pushing their stuff back to them. And to me, it was a ping pong ball. Have that back. I don't want that. That doesn't come into my energy. And the more that I worked on my own energy, it's blooming hard work. Healing is such hard, committed, dedicated effort that after a while, it wasn't a problem for me, because I was infuriated that someone would dare to put their low vibrational, dense, horrible energy and try and give it to me. So that made the ping pong balling a bit easier, if I'm honest, because I didn't want it. I didn't want it in my energy. And I also want to share with you one of my friends, Louise from Cosmic Soul Therapy. She once gave me another really, really good trick, which is if you're talking to somebody, you've got to be around somebody that's really, really negative, that doesn't make you feel good. She told me to imagine you've got a gigantic rose quartz bowl in your lap, and then just direct all of that energy that they're giving to you into that bowl, and that bowl just takes it away, transmutes it, so you don't have to deal with it. So you can just visualize their energy coming in, their words coming in, their actions coming in. They go into that bowl and they don't impact on you. So that's 2 ways. You can reinforce your energy. 3, isn't it? You can reinforce your energy. You can say you're not giving any energy. You can bat away anything that anyone tries to put in your energy. And you can also hold on to that rose quartz bowl and just transmute it all. Now, things that are also really good to do are, for example, you work somewhere that's really toxic energy, really, really hard to be a part of. Well, I hope if you feel like that you are manifesting a new job for yourself as quickly as you can. But while you're there, when you leave that space, when you leave those people, I'm always winding down the windows in my car and blowing the energy out. Sometimes I arrive places and my hair's stood on end because I've just blasted all of the negative energy out of my car. I've asked it to leave. And you can do that in your house too. If you have someone negative in your house, you can just open a window and ask that energy to leave. You can also have crystals in your car where you can just hold on to that crystal and pour crystals. They work really hard for us, don't they? And just say to it, take all of this negative energy out of me, take it away, and imagine it like a little crystal vacuum cleaner sucking up all of that energy. And certain people love to prescribe crystals for different things. I think you should use whichever one you're drawn to, but obviously if you're filling it up with negative energy, make sure that you're giving it a chance to recharge and reset. Don't sacrifice one crystal on a daily basis. That's no existence for that crystal, is it? So yeah, there's lots of ways, lots and lots of ways. You can just ask the energy to leave. You can visualize it running off you, that you can stop people putting their toxic energy into your energy. But the most important thing is to remember you don't give anything to anybody that you don't allow yourself to give. So simple as your thoughts being, no, I'm not giving you any energy. No, I'm not arguing with you. I'm just going to agree with everything you say and remove yourself from that situation is as valuable sometimes as arguing and engaging and fighting. I can remember, you'd think, wouldn't you, working for the spirit world, I mean, this is the irony, that they'd go, oh, well, Hannah's working in service of us, so let's make it easy for her. But actually, what I have found happens is the spirit world goes, right, well, she says she wants to work with us. We've got to make sure she's ready. Let's test her. And I had a really interesting experience with a lady that joined my circle once. And she arrived and she said, oh, I've got loads of experience. I've been in churches. I've done this. I've done that. I've done this. And well, why are you here then? And she was a really negative, horrible energy. And I knew I couldn't have her in my group. And she was really, really unkind to one of the members of my group, really, really unpleasant. So it was, one of those spiritual slaps that you get where I knew that she had to go. She had to go. And when I asked my spirit guides to help me with getting rid of her, because I knew she was going to be a nightmare, I knew she was going to be a problem, they told me to tell her that she was too experienced for my group, that she was too good. And there was nothing she could say to that. So I didn't have to give her any more of my energy or attention than I already had, because I told her she was too good to be there. And so by doing that, I saved my energy, I protected my energy, maybe not my pride, but I didn't need to get in an argument with her. She wasn't ready to change. I knew that. She didn't want to learn or grow. She wanted to come and be unkind. And that just helped me get out of it. So don't be afraid to ask your guides to help you with how you need to manage your energy, because they will inspire you. They will show you an easy way if you let them. So if you've been in a relationship with somebody like the person that emailed me that started this entire extra podcast here, and you've given away your power and you've given them your energy and your attention for so long, it becomes almost like a web woven between the two of you. It's very, very hard to break. The first thing you need to do is make sure that as often as you remember, you put your barriers in. You try not to engage. You try not to guide or lead, or you just pull your energy back and you put that barrier around your aura and you protect yourself. And sometimes you'll fail at that. And that's okay, because you don't have to get it right first time. We are habituated creatures. It takes me blooming ages to learn to change my reaction. That way that you respond instantaneously, that bit of programming, that's the hardest to change, because you've already done it by the time you've realized that you've got it wrong. But that's okay, because every time that you set that intention and you focus on it is a win for your energy. And it's very, very hard when there's somebody who will use illness or upset as a way to control other people. But that doesn't mean that you need to be the fixer. You don't need to be the healer of this scenario, because if somebody is using those types of scenarios to get attention, to get energy, they don't want to change that. They're making that choice. So you can expect, as you try and pull your energy back and you try and get yourself into a sort of disconnected state with it, that they will kick off. They will complain, they will have a tantrum, their behaviour will get bigger and worse. We call it fishing, because it's like they're pulling a hook into your energy, trying to get a reaction from you, trying to get a rise from you, trying to get that programming to kick in. And you've got to be really, really strong. You've got to be really, really dedicated to just gently pushing that hook out of your energy and not responding. And this isn't just people that are unkind and horrible. This can be, I see this a lot with mums. mums and children, adult children, and they want their children to learn, and they want their children to get on with their lives and make good choices, but then they allow them to take their energy every time anything goes wrong, every time they want to complain about something, they rush in to fix it. So that's a hook as well. You know, there's so many different types, but you've got to keep that focus on your game plan. And your game plan is that your energy is not to be taken. And one of the best things that you can do is allow yourself a month where you don't allow anybody to take your energy. And that's what Spirit had me do. I had a month where nobody was allowed anything from me. I didn't answer my phone, I didn't really see anybody. I know that might sound ironic after we've just done a lockdown. And the people that I did see, I would always put my barrier in. I would always reset it. I would focus on it before I saw them, just visualize it in my mind. And that's part of how I got to that stage where I could feel it. I could physically feel it when somebody tried to take something from me, when someone tried to take my energy. I could feel it. And I'll never forget with that friend Paula being out in town shopping one day, and I felt something in my energy, like sucking at my energy. And I turned around because it was a physical feeling to see what it was. And she was coming towards me. And I hadn't seen her at that point, but her expectation that she knew on a subconscious level that she knew that I would feed her was creating a physical experience for me in my energy. And that is something that I think is available to everybody. If you have really good energy hygiene, if you're very, very clear on keeping your energy full, on not giving it away to people who don't want to use it for their betterment, in putting up those barriers and those boundaries, in empowering other people to make the choices and changes in their lives that they need to make, and not feeling like you need to do it for them, you will start to feel it when someone tries to take from you. And you will be affronted too. How very dare you? But it's good. It's good to be aware of that, and it's good to be mindful of it, because in an ideal world, one day my hope for humanity, my hope, I don't think it will be in my lifetime, is that everybody focuses on what makes them feel good. Everybody focuses on their own energy. And because I think that people, all of this negativity we've got, all of this fear, you know, all of this judgment that we're in, people who judge are not happy. People who are filled with bitterness and anger and horrible things, you know, they haven't got any energy, and they feel like they're a victim. They're a victim because they haven't got the energy to change their lives. But I do believe the choice is there for everybody. And my vision is that one day everybody will be responsible for their own energy, for making sure they take time for themselves, for connecting, for realizing when their energy is low and their behavior becomes taking rather than taking and giving in equal measure. And they will do the work on themselves to top their energy up without actually taking it from anybody else. But I think we're a long way off that. And in the meantime, you need to make sure that you are in optimum state. And, you know, we'll take it back to what the purpose of a light worker is. The purpose of a light worker, in my opinion, is to shine your light. And that shine will hit some people and be ignored, and hit some people and inspire change in them. And you can't choose who it inspires and who ignores it. That's okay. But you just have to shine regardless. And you can only shine if your light is full, if your battery is charged, if you're not hemorrhaging out energy to everybody else. So good luck. It's a really big journey, and I'd love to tell you I've got it in the bag and I never get it wrong 12 years in. But sadly I do sometimes. Sadly I only realise afterwards, and I have to recoup all the energy that I've lost. But we're all here to learn. It is a learning curve. So enjoy the journey, be kind to yourself. But there is no requirement from the spirit world for you to give that energy to anybody else.